Let's go, girls. Welcome to Talk Wealthy to Me. I'm Michelle Taylor, founder of Women in Wealth. From breaking money myths to building wealth and achieving financial freedom, we're here to empower you to create your own path. Talk Wealthy. Now, join the conversation and let's change the way women think and feel about money. Okay, ready? Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Talk Wealthy to Me. I'm Michelle Taylor, your host, and you guys are in for a very special treat today. It's our first gentleman guest. So Claudio Gambin is going to share so many words of wisdom today, and I think you're going to get a ton out of this. Welcome to Talk Wealthy to Me.
Happy to be here. Long time coming.
I know. We've tried to do this a bunch of times. So for anybody listening, Claudio is an entrepreneur connoisseur. His brain works different than anyone I've ever met, always thinking of great ideas, and is also one of my closest friends and the founder of GFG Solutions, where we do all of our consulting and wealth management work. And so I thought it would be so much fun to have him come in and tell us his story, because not only is he a good friend and a mentor, but he was the original big supporter of Women in Wealth and this mission that I'm on, and I couldn't have done it without all of that support. So
it's finally out there.
It's here.
Oh man,
it's been.
I know you said that to me like in private, but now it's
here. I know. So tell everybody just about you,
me,
and what you do.
So what do I do? I'm a dad.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a husband, and I own multiple businesses, but really at the end of the day, I am a strategic and creative thinker in all different levels of life, which is kind of what has really built GFG Solutions.
Yeah.
Coming from financial services, kind of trailblazing that into this, which is GFG Solutions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's really who I am. I'm just a creative problem solver in life, and that's where I love to be. And that's, for whether it's dadding or husbanding or businessing, whatever it is, I want to try and be creative. I want to try and be efficient. I want to optimize, but I'm also I love to romanticize experiences.
Mm-hmm.
So being creative and optimized allows me to give myself the margin to romanticize all those things.
Well, and that's probably the understatement of the century, because you really do live it to such a degree that I've never seen anybody do prior. And you really do put so much thought and attention into everything that you do. And I think anyone that's in your sphere, whether they're clients, friends, your wife, your kids, everything you do just feels a little bit more special and unique. And I think that's your superpower, 100%. So that will be one of the biggest compliments of the show. And we'll stop it there because we can't let his head get too big. But
that's too late.
So what's really funny, and I think that we would be remiss not to talk about this, is Claudio and I met because of really all the mistakes that I made in my early life. I found myself working for Prada, and Claudio walked in to buy a gift for his wife, and it was definitely serendipitous. We ended up chatting, and he called the store a few days later and asked me, because of the business that I was working on and getting ready to launch, if I wanted to sit down and have him help me. And of course, I took that as such a huge compliment, and it gave me so much confidence to go after it. And now on the other side, I understand, it was genuine, but at the same time, you were also just working to build your business.
Yep. That was 2013?
Yeah, 2013.
Yeah.
And long story short, we met each other's spouses. The four of us became really, really close. And when I was pregnant with my son, I thought, I cannot do what I'm doing anymore, working and traveling with Prada and doing all of the things. So I mentioned that in one of our meetings, and he said, come do what I do. And the rest is history. So I've worked with Claudio and with him as my mentor, kind of paving the way in all of this for over a decade.
Has it been that long?
Yeah, isn't that
God,
crazy?
feels like 25 years.
I know.
Yeah.
Long time. So, one of the things that I respect and admire so much about what you've done is, and you guys have heard me say this before, where every relationship, there's a balloon and a string. And Claudio is the epitome of the balloon. He's always the big thinker, has these huge ideas, and he always sees them through. And I think that,
I see them through to failure.
right, but most of the time that
Yeah.
is the end result, right?
Yeah.
But it's great because he knows how to pivot really quickly to say, this isn't working. So I think one of the most amazing things about who you are and where you are today is because of your story.
Yeah.
So tell everybody what your relationship with money was growing up and how you got here.
Sure. Pretty much everything that I do today has in any way, shape, like one way, shape, or form, been influenced by that relationship with money. Growing up, my parents moved here from Brazil when I was 7. My sister was 9, I was 7, and this was 1994. They moved from Brazil. They left pretty good jobs. My dad was an engineer, my mom was a professor at university, and they moved here not so that they could have a better life, but that so my sister and I could have a better opportunity. Like not even like a guarantee of a better life, but a better opportunity. Well, in the pretty typical immigrant story, like they get to the United States and it's just like it's not as easy as the TV makes it out
Starting
to be.
over entirely.
And their degrees didn't transfer, and they went straight into basically manual labor. And we went from what I would consider upper middle class in Brazil kind of directly into poverty here. And that was the beginning of kind of this story, right? And a lot of hours of therapy later, we now leverage this story as a gift instead of a trauma.
Yeah.
But that was it. We were incredibly poor growing up, and I remember having very active like thoughts an 8, 9, or 10-year-old should not be having about money. Like I remember being a very active part of the financial conversation at the dinner table on how are we going to pay bills, and that became really the driving force of my life. Right? From a lot of different angles. It became the driving force for me to go make as much money as I can, for me to choose the career that I chose, for me to live in a very generous and giving kind of a mindset, right? For me to have a very growth-oriented type of a mindset. All of that came from that dinner table experience. So the story was we came here. My parents worked incredibly hard, but no matter how hard you work, when you are an illegal immigrant, and then eventually we became legal, like it's just really difficult to get out of poverty. And one of my saddest / favorite stories is, my mom did not have enough money to buy milk or bread. And she had to consistently make decisions on what do we buy, right?
What we need most in that moment.
What we need most in that moment. And today I have a little toy milk and a little toy bread on my desk because like I think about the hardest days that I have, the most difficult business decisions I have to make pale in comparison to those types of decisions. And thankfully, because of their sacrifice, we are in a position today where we don't have to make difficult financial decisions. So my relationship with money has always been a scarcity level relationship. And that is because there was very little money. And when there is very little money, you make decisions completely different, right? So my parents grew up in a very scarce type of an environment because they had to. There was no other choice. So fast forward into 2005, right? So grew up pretty poor. Actually, let's kind of back up to 2015. Not 2015. When I was 15 years old, so it was 2001. I had an opportunity to leave our crappy neighborhood, right? Orlo Vista at the time, which is right on the edge of Pine Hills for you Central Floridians. And I had an opportunity to go to school at Olympia High, which is in Windermere, where all the rich
Much
kids
better
went to school.
schools, yeah.
And that was like, without me really paying attention to or knowing, it was a defining moment of my life.
Yeah.
Because when you live in a bad neighborhood, when you live at a poverty line, you don't know what you're capable of.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have enough exposure to what is possible.
You're not watching anybody else do it.
No.
So you have no idea.
So you have no idea, right? But when I got transferred into that school, I saw that this is possible. And then my friends who are very wealthy, who I'm still very close with, I got to go to their house. And I remember like walking in to my buddy Hunter's house and being like, this is how you live? Like I remember being a 15-year-old, 16-year-old going,
huh?
You have 4 bedrooms?
Yeah.
Like what? Like why do you have 3 living rooms?
Yeah.
You know, like you have 2 refrigerators.
And at that age, it is so impactful to see
it's
it. And you
insane.
like don't even know how to process it.
But I'll never forget, after school one day, we all went back to my friend's, his name was Gab, went back to his house, and I was hungry, and he was like, hey man, just get whatever you want. And I opened his refrigerator, and he had like all kinds of deli meats. They had cheese, they had ham, turkey, roast beef, sliced chicken. And I was like, one day.
And it was boar's head.
It was boar's head.
Yep.
And I'm like, one day, I'm going to get all the deli meats. And if you walk into my house today, there's deli meat. I don't even eat deli meat, but there's freaking deli meat.
Well, and I think everybody has that thing. It's just like me with and I've talked about this a million times, but having a stocked refrigerator in the garage. Same thing. I went to my friends, and when I opened, I'm like, you have a second refrigerator? And there's like Cokes in there? That's amazing. Same thing. I do not drink sodas. But if you go into my garage, it's stocked.
So it becomes kind of like what those very specific bookmarks of success. So for me, you know, there's so much more to that poverty story that we don't have a 3-hour podcast today. But what became kind of like a very clear thing is how we live is not how we have to live, right? And then understanding to not be afraid of money.
That's good.
Understanding that money is a tool. And you can only really get there once you've crossed over a very specific mental barrier. And I work with people today, whether from a mentee perspective or from a client perspective, and I try to get them out of the mindset of exchanging something for money. Because when you exchange something for money, you can't cross over the scarcity because there is a finite amount of something you can exchange. And most of us coming up in business, in life, whatever, you are exchanging time for money.
Yeah.
Right? Most of us are exchanging a minute, an hour, a day, a week for money, which means that you have a finite amount of that resource that you can exchange. And it ultimately becomes a zero-sum game where by saying yes to something, you are saying no to money. So then you stop saying yes to being a good father. You stop saying yes to being a good husband. You stop saying yes to being a good friend because you are exchanging all of those goods for money, right? And the minute you can get out of that, you can move out of that mental shift and you can exchange impact for money, that's when you have a breakthrough. That's when you can really move out. And that for me, it was understanding that for me to get to all the deli meats, for me to get to that level.
The house with 4 bedrooms.
House with 4 bedrooms or more. You can't exchange time for money, right? And again, my parents did the absolute best they possibly could.
Yeah.
But they never had the opportunity to take time to think about how they wanted to think.
Right, because they had to hustle.
Because they had to work 2 jobs each, right? 16 hours, 18 hours a day. So it definitely is like this weird dynamic. So for me, growing up in this situation allowed me to create that scarcity fear of money, but then moving into impact value driven type of an economy in my head became no longer a fear of money. It became a opportunity to gain impact, which then inherently drives wealth. I know that sounds super woo-woo.
No, but it's so true.
But for anyone listening, if you can figure that out in the impact value, right? I was just having a conversation with a good friend now, teaching him this concept. And he was doing a job for money, and he can only do so many of those jobs. And I'm like, and his whole goal was, he goes, Claudio, I want to get to 10,000 a month. I want to make 10,000 a month. And I go, well, the way you get to 10,000 a month is either you exchange these many hours, which you don't have enough based upon what you are currently earning on an hourly rate, or you figure out a way to make more of an impact per hour. Because if you can make more of an impact per hour, and then you can extrapolate impact, then you'll get to $10,000 per month way faster. Now, that road is a very tricky road because it is not paved. It doesn't even look like a road. But that's the difference maker. Because if you have the ability to think about how to create that for yourself, how to drive impact, that's where wealth will come. Anyway, so that we went totally kind of sideways there.
No, but it's all true.
That has been my background, and I've had the opportunity to not have anything. I've had the opportunity to have a lot and lose it all multiple times. So I've definitely had a lot of dark times around money. And during those dark times is when you really get to define your value. We never get to define value in good times. During those dark times is when you really get to define value. So, dark times growing up being incredibly poor, dark times growing up being incredibly poor around very rich kids, right? And then having a lot of the situations that occurred to me as a teenager, having to kind of figure it out on my own. And then starting a business, because I started this business not because I wanted to start a business. I just couldn't get a job.
Well, yeah. And
I was unemployable.
And this is all you've ever done.
This is it. Because I couldn't get a job.
And you guys, he will oftentimes ask, for example, Jason, my husband, to go fishing or something in the middle of the week if there's a good fishing day. And I have to remind him, I know you've never had a job where you had to ask permission, but Jason can't go today.
Well, he asking you permission is different than asking
true.
permission.
That's true. But you have done an incredible job at being such a thought leader and watching you solve problems that people don't even know that they have and come up with a solution. That is where, creating that value that nobody else is creating, truly, has been such a privilege to watch and such a cheat code for me, because if it's not a paved road and it's climbing through a desolate field, I've definitely followed the path that you've made, and it's been huge. You're just thinking about things differently, and people don't realize they need it until they sit down and go, oh my God. So I think that you found your way into this career because you were meant to.
Oh, without a doubt. Like I was uniquely created
to do this.
Like, don't let me do anything else. It's so funny. We were at the 10-yard line, I should say, of selling this business. And for the record, that's football. I learned that.
Yes, he's not a sports guy,
I don't know anything
everybody.
about sports, but I'm stealing this reference from somebody that does know sports. So I was at the 10-yard line.
Just be glad he's not making it a car reference, because that is his thing, and none of us would have gotten that either.
So like at a 10-yard line, like, of selling the business, like we I think I told you this.
Had interest.
We were there. Yep. The terms were there. The amount of money was there, and because I've always wanted to build this thing and sell. But when we got there, I was like, if I sell this, like tomorrow, I'm going to go become an employee.
Yeah.
And that's not going to work because we know I'm not employable.
No. HR nightmare.
So then I was having a conversation with Melissa,
yep,
my wife. And she's like, well, if you sell, like, what are you going to do next? And I was like, I'll probably wait for my non-compete to end and then just do this all over again. And she's like, well, then why are we selling? You already have it.
Yeah. And you love it.
So I was like, yeah. So I pulled out of the deal, right? And changing and rewriting the entire path of where we're going. And that's been kind of the mental space I've been in, I would say, for the last 180 days, because this just happened. So, for all intents and purposes, I was uniquely created for this, and that's great and all, but also that's where, like, some of the most important people in my life come into that picture, because, like, I was uniquely created for this because of the people that I surround myself with, if that makes any sense. Like, my mom, she always said, like, you're going to be a great man. Like, regardless of it all, like, I will never forget, like, this entire conversation with her. And when you're in it, you don't see it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now on the other side, like, I'm like, I don't know if I would have been here had she not put that in my head, right? And then, like, Melissa believing in me when there was literally, like, no reason to, like, none, like, zero facts, zero,
just a feeling,
like, no, like, leading indicators. It was just
no
like
data to
right, zero data.
Successful.
So, like, that is such a crucial piece, and you guys will get a kick out of this, and I've told this to you, but, like, that's why I've been such a big supporter of Women in Wealth. Is the females in my life have been so incredible that I couldn't have possibly been where I'm at today had it not been for them.
Yeah, no, and I think that it is so amazing to watch as you've built this and what you've done, and see that you are building out your A squad with really strong, amazing, powerful women. And, your mom, your family are amazing. Now, Rachel, your sister, is our COO, and she's absolutely just the kind of person that everyone wants to be. And then Melissa, who I'm going to have on the podcast, you guys, because she is just such a gift to anyone that knows her. And then obviously me, you're in the office next door to you. I try and keep you on the straight and narrow. But to watch, and you keep filling these roles within your organization with women that have it all together, and you defer when you know you should. And I just think it's amazing to watch it all happen, because I do think it's a huge part of your success. So
it's a cheat code. It's a freaking cheat code.
What do you think having your A team be women has done for you and your business and you as a person?
Well, so, like, my two examples growing up was my mom and my sister, right? Like, they're just freaking powerhouses, like, of determination and grit and resilience, right? Like, and I love my dad. This is not a dig on my dad.
Not at all.
But he also would not have made it had it not been for my mom. There's no chance. Like, he couldn't make it through the week. If my mom goes on vacation, which she doesn't, but if she would have, my dad would probably starve to death.
Yeah.
Love you, Dad. But, like, my mom and my sister, and then my sister, like, not speaking English, learning English, hitting the United States, and then, like, just freaking succeeding.
Oh, yeah.
Like, 4-point whatever GPA, crushing it in school, getting out of school,
the corporate ladder.
Worked up. Like, what an example of a human being. Like anybody would aspire to be her. So those are my first kind of two examples, right? And then, for those that don't know, I met Melissa on December 23rd of 2007. We went on our first date on December 25th of 2007. On January 3rd of 2008, I asked her to marry me, and she said no. So I asked again in August, and then she finally said yes. But like again, just like another, like, incredible role model, human example of this. And there was a study done, and again, the reason I say this is a cheat code, but I don't remember the name of the study, but there was a study done on data points on humans receiving data points through interaction. So like from the moment we wake up to the moment we go to bed, we are just taking in inputs, data points, right? And how we reason, how we make decisions, how we feel, how we ultimately decide what's right, what's wrong, how we're going to do about it. Am I going to drive my Ferrari today? Am I going to drive my Rolls Royce today? Am I going to, whatever, right? Like, sorry, dick.
Told you, car stuff.
All of those are based upon the data points we receive.
Yeah.
And the study was trying to understand the difference between male and female data points.
Okay.
And the female brain received if a male received one data point, how much
4
do you think a female brain received?
4.
180.
Oh my
off
God.
of literally 180 times more data sets. And then you extrapolate that over the entire day and over the entire week, over the entire year, over the entire lifetime. That's what creates the female intuition, which is a scientifically proven
It's real.
thing.
Spider sense is real.
Whatever you guys want to call it, but it's a scientifically proven thing. You just pick up so much more information off of any one given thing than I do. So if that's the case, why not use that brain to help with everything in life? So that's why we're building out our A squad full of females. When my sister has a hunch, like it's not just a feeling.
Mm-hmm.
It's a hunch. It's a hunch based upon
all these data
things
points
that have occurred. Like if she has a hunch about an employee of mine,
mm-hmm.
she probably picked up data points over a certain period of time that's making her feel this way. And if I act on her hunch 10 times, it's right 9. It's a cheat. It's like cheating. It's a freaking cheat code. Why not?
I've never actually heard you say it that way, but it is so true. You're surrounding yourself with people that have loads more data, and then you just borrow it.
And then on top of that, like the ability of the female brain to recognize the emotional wavelengths of humans is like ridiculously higher than the male brain. I want to believe that I'm a little bit better than the average male just because, I've been surrounded by women my whole life.
I think you are, for sure.
But like, just you pick up on emotional wavelengths that like others just don't. And again, like at the end of the day, if we were just in business, in any business, if we were just in business and in life to create a transaction and make as much money as possible, then yeah, let's go get a bunch of dudes and let's go create a bunch of transactions and let's go make a bunch of money. But we're not. We're in business to enjoy life. Our business is the wealth engine for us to achieve our personal goals, not the other way around. And at the end of the day, the fact that we're all emotional beings, right? Being happy, joy, those are what? Emotions.
Yep.
Why not tap into the emotional wavelength that a female can tap into way better than any man?
Ladies, feel free to play this for your husband.
And again, it's just, and it's like, I fight it too, right?
Well, we all do.
And like, I fight with Melissa all the time. But at the end of the day, like, when she told me she literally said it to me on our date night. We were wrapping up, or we went to a yoga class and we were having a smoothie after. And she's like, I just have a gut feeling about this. I said nothing, but I just made a mental note. I'm like, I need to act on that because she's got a gut feeling on this. I'm going to go act on that. And again, if I do it 10 times and she's right 9, and the one time that she's not right, it's not completely wrong either. You know what I mean? So for everyone that is listening and is hearing this and saying maybe, growing up, so much of what we do is not just growing people's wealth and helping them keep more through tax strategy and all of that. It's also about reworking their money story and their money mindset and all of that. So knowing what you went through and how you did it, for anybody that's listening, what do you think was the biggest step forward when it came to money and how you approached it? Mm-hmm.
when you were still figuring all of this out, if they are just now
Yeah.
trying to figure it out?
So I'll tell you a story that's going to answer that. I was having breakfast with Rachel, my sister, and Rachel graduated like top of her class and kind of went to Lockheed Martin, was with Lockheed Martin for like 20 years, went all the way to the corporate ladder, right?
And then you stole her.
And then I stole her. Now she runs the show at GFG, which is one of my biggest blessings in life. We were having a conversation about our experiences growing up. And this is stemming from a ton of therapy, right? And I said, hey, Rach, growing up, did you feel that our experience was traumatic? Like, do you remember it being trauma? Because I remember being pretty freaking happy.
Yeah.
Like, regardless of it all, like, I was happy as a child.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, no, but I definitely do have triggers. And I go, I have triggers too. I'm like, what are your triggers? And it's so funny because we both had the similar experience with money growing up.
Yeah.
I went left, she went right. I went left because I wasn't going to let anything make me feel that way ever again.
Mm-hmm.
So I chose a career that allowed me to make as much money as I possibly could. She went right because she's never going to make anything make her feel like that ever again. And she picked a career that's going to give her a very steady paycheck. Right?
Yeah.
So it just goes to show that all of these experiences, we're going to wire them however we want. But that shaping, that experience has really led to me running as far away from scarcity as possible. And the way I do that is by getting creative and driving value. And the more value I bring, the more wealth I can create. So how I think and feel about money today is on a healthy and unhealthy scale. Like, I can never have enough. I can never have it. Like, I could literally have $1 billion in my bank account and I would feel poor. So it's something that I'm constantly working with on how I feel about money on the healthy level. The more money I have, the more good I can do, the more impact I can drive, the more generous I can be. Right?
Yeah.
But it's so interesting how like those, and I'm helping Rachel rewire her brain on, because one of the best analogies that I've ever heard about money is it's a wet bar of soap.
Oh, yeah.
Money, if you hold on to it so tight, it's going to slip right out of your hands. Versus if you have an open hand, it's going to slide right out of your hands. So it's a fine balance. It's a
balance all the time, every day.
So I'm helping her rewire how she thinks about money in that sense too, right? Because as I would imagine, a lot of women, and again, learning from you here, a lot of women don't feel empowered enough to take control of their wealth. And that's because of something that may have happened growing up. Maybe growing up, the dad did the finances, made all the decisions. So then, now the husband does. But in every conversation I have, if they are married, the wife is included.
Well, and that is something that I have seen you do in practice. And also, when we were coming up through this industry and doing leadership and all of those things, I used to always say that to the boys that were talking, because, the female advisor is so much a minority in this world. And I watched it happen where we would have meetings, the husband and the wife came in, and the wife just sat there. And at the end of the day, this as well as anybody, when they go to the car, if she doesn't like you, more than likely, nothing is going to happen. And, I think that that's where so much of this work with Women in Wealth came from. So when I came into this world and was learning underneath Claudio, obviously, the business owner is where his niche is and where he is such a magician. And I was learning all of this stuff and seeing these guys, and then I was getting introduced to women. And I had to shift and pivot in so many ways because of the way that women approach money and think through money. And even today, I'd say 85% of the clients I work with are women. And they still, as successful as they are, still have the same questions that wife does sitting in your office. So, coming to you 5 years ago and saying, how do we take everything we know about money and how to build wealth and put it in a space where women have access to it that wouldn't normally have access? And to your credit, I mean, you financially supported Women in Wealth before it was a business, before it was a community, before the podcast, before all of these things. And it was just going out and talking to people and networking and being at the events that were important. And you saw the value in it, I think, before so many people did, other than myself. And that was such a blessing because we aren't having the same conversations. We aren't as bold with making choices. And so it's interesting, you said growing up in poverty, you don't see the people that you need to see to grow. And I think that this has allowed so many women to be the person that they wish they had growing up to see as
the exposure,
as the leader. So
doing this type of business with a man is very transactional.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we go back to that. But we know this. If the wife isn't on board, it's not going to happen. Right? So again, not to make it as simple as it is, but like if you can learn to tap into the qualitative data, not just the quantitative, and include the spouse, include the wife, not only are you going to have a better relationship with the whole client, not just the husband, the whole client, but you're going to be able to do better work. Anybody out there in our space can gather data, provide a plan, and execute on a plan. But the reason we are so different is because we provide a plan based upon the heart, not the brain. And if we can't do that, then we have a short-term client. But if we can provide a strategy or a plan based upon the heart, not the brain, then we have a long-term client. And it is an active decision we have to make because it is a difficult decision. It is a longer road to work with the heart than it is with the brain. But short-term hard, long-term easy.
Yeah.
Right? So bringing in the wife allows for us to have a little bit more access to the heart. And again, it sounds, I wouldn't say manipulative, but it's intentional.
Yeah.
You have to have access to the heart.
And I watch you do that. You have so many clients that are female, that have their own businesses,
My favorite.
And you guys, huge people that you would know, big names that are female founders that work with you. And I think it's because of everything that you've talked about. And I think that it's very obvious for anybody that is either listening or that knows you is you are incredibly loyal, which is also something that's super important to me. And so when you deliver a message to a client that's a woman and you know something's important to her, you have shown through example and, in conversation with her in results that what matters to her, you are loyal to that vision and that goal, and you're going to make it happen if you have any say in it.
Yeah.
And I think that is super, unique in this industry. Most guys don't get that money is emotional. The plan is emotional. And for guys, it can be transactional.
And I think that's probably the most powerful thing that I hope that you guys deliver with Women in Wealth is that it's okay to have emotion with money. Like it's perfectly okay. Yeah, and you know this, but I would have a lot more wealth if I wasn't emotional with money. But I choose to live my life. I choose to make decisions based upon memories, not money. So like that's also how we choose to guide our clients.
Yeah.
I was having a conversation. So I have a client that just sold his business, a ton of money. And he's always wanted this one very particular car. It's an expensive car. It's a $250,000 car.
But with what he sold his business for, not a huge expense.
Like 9 figures.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey man, just enjoy it. Like you have bled through this. Just go enjoy it. That is not good financial decisions. Those aren't good decisions to make on just a pure quantitative level, but at a qualitative level, it's the best financial decision you can make,
Yes.
right? So like money is emotional. Life is emotional. And the minute we're okay with that, the minute we accept the fact that we have best case scenario 90 years here and that you don't get to take any of this crap with you,
Mm-mm.
then you can start making decisions with money. And then again, it's you're not holding on to it so tight. You're not just doing math. It is, and you've heard me say this. The mathematical decision is this, but here's what I think you should do,
Mm-hmm.
right? You can have a little bit more balance with money. And that's what I hope happens with Women in Wealth and as relates to women. Because it's okay. It's okay to be scared of it. It's okay to spend it. It's okay to go enjoy it.
And it's amazing because there's so much guilt that comes with it for women, I think, that you think, yes, I can do this. I had almost an identical situation with a client, same thing, where she just wanted a Bronco. And she called me and same thing. She had an incredible couple of years, doesn't have kids, doesn't need all of the money she's making. And I said, go buy it.
Yeah.
And she said, I just needed to hear you say it. And if all we're doing is working to accumulate, I think of, and I make fun of my dad with this because he's such a collector mindset. But when, like Mickey Mouse, the the Christmas Carol, whatever, in that movie, and anyone that has kids have probably seen it. But Scrooge is like accumulating money. He just wants to collect it. And at the end of the day, if you feel like you're working really hard just to collect more, but don't have a plan for how to enjoy it, you definitely need to pivot, because what's it all for? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to say something that you're going to tease me about, but travel is super important to us,
Every
and
week.
our
Gotta
families travel
every
together
week.
and have so much fun. But it used to be something that I would be very conscious of and think, well, I could do this and we could do it at this level, or I could do it here, still travel, but be able to put money in this other spot. And you have taught me through example, by the way, to not do that, to go and have the fun, do the vacation the way that you want to do it, create those memories. And my dad has been dealing with some health issues. Thankfully, he's okay now. But we had gone on a trip together and he wasn't feeling well. And he said, I know I give you a hard time about, oh, you're always traveling. Where are you, my nomad daughter? And he said, but here I am, 74, and I don't feel good on this trip. And you're doing it right, because I've worked and now I want to travel, but I'm not even enjoying it. And that meant so much to me, because it's like, okay, we joke about it, but the reality is time is precious. You're working hard, live your life, give yourself the permission to spend.
Yeah. And here's something else that I will say. Agree with everything you just said,
Mm-hmm.
right? Obviously with balance, wet soap, wet bar of soap. But on the other side of that, the decisions you make allow for that to happen. So I think about, like you mentioned in the beginning of this podcast, how intentional I am.
Mm-hmm.
My life is a very disciplined and regimented life. I would say pretty much every 5 minutes of my day is scheduled. And I've had multiple conversations with people that are like, hey man, what, like, that doesn't leave you any room to be intentional or like live your life. And I was like, actually, you've got it all opposite. Wrong.
Yeah.
Everything is designed so that I can live my life, because if I don't have to make all of these decisions on a day-to-day basis, is just already scheduled, then the margin I have exists in my brain. The margin I have gives me the opportunity to think. It gives me the opportunity to be creative. It gives me the opportunity to do all the things we've been talking about, because I don't have to decide what I'm going to wear today. I don't have to decide what I'm going to eat today. I don't have to decide where I need to be today. I don't have to decide any of these things. Those have already been pre-decided. Like I wake up at 6, by 6:15 I'm working out. I know exactly, and then I'm with family from 7:30 to 8:30, and then 8:30 I go to read my book and sauna and whatever. Like everything has been pre-decided. I get to work at the same time. I'll leave work at the same time. I do everything the same. So I have all this mental space and energy to choose to be present with my kids and make memories. Choose to take time to get creative in the business. And I don't have any fires.
Yeah.
Any mental fires, I should say. There's fires every day that I have to put out,
Sure.
the mental fires.
And you do that really well. And I think that for so many women listening, they probably struggle with work-life balance. It's not real. But I think if you can organize your life and your time like this, it does allow for the 100% attention to being where your feet are. I've never, and this is, again, truthful as I can be, I've never seen a man that I know or someone else knows that is as intentional about being a good husband, being a good father, being a good friend, being a good leader and business owner. And I think that you're able to do that and succeed in all of those things. I think that anyone that knows you knows you are 100% in, and you're going to give it everything you have, even if you get it wrong sometimes.
Because it's not perfect.
Because it's not perfect, and because you manage your time so carefully. And I think that's the cheat code, right? I have the business coach, Joanna, who's changing my life in the easiest ways. And she has talked to me about this. Don't be all over the place. Be super intentional with what you're doing in each day so that when you're done and you're home with your kids. And that's where the guilt kind of goes away.
So, like, I think this is where, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of women feel guilty about everything, right? And I struggle with guilt myself, right? Like, I feel guilty that my parents sacrificed their lives for me. I feel guilty that, I just feel I have a lot of guilt too. And none of it's healthy, none of it's real, but it's just is what it is. But making the active choice to be where my feet are, knowing that it's never going to be perfect, releases me of a lot of that guilt. And then I also choose, because I can, thankfully, to buy my time everywhere that I can. And this is something that allows me to choose what I'm going to spend my time on, which gives me the opportunity to be intentional, right? Because if I'm going to put, like, I've decided I'm not going to be a bad friend, but I can't sacrifice being a bad father
to be a good friend.
Mm-hmm. But I can sacrifice cooking, right? So I hired somebody that delivers meals to our house 3 to 4 days a week. Because that hour may not seem like much, but that hour I get to pour into my kids.
Right.
And then instead of having to grocery shop, right, that other hour I get to go play pickleball with my friends. Mm-hmm. So there's a bunch of things that I am willing to sacrifice so that I don't have to sacrifice the things that I don't want to sacrifice. But it just takes having a little bit of margin to actually think this stuff through.
So as we wrap all of these things up, what would you say when you're sitting in meetings where the husband's leading the conversation, or very clearly the woman maybe has an interest and doesn't speak up or doesn't have an interest? What do you think are the ways that she and anyone listening what are the questions they need to be asking? What are the most important things that they need to be considering around money, even if they're not the one driving the boat?
Yeah. I think the biggest lie is when they go, oh, my husband's got it. Mm-hmm. Right? I think that's the biggest lie. And I may get in trouble for saying this, but it's a lie you're telling yourself. Mm-hmm. Right? Like it's like you are saying that lie because maybe you don't believe you've got the chops to be able to sit at the table, which is a lie.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of times we get, oh, I'm just not interested in this stuff. Like, my husband's got it. But like, I'm like, no, like, you get to live a life too. Like, your goals are just as important as his goals. As a matter of fact, why are they different? right? Like, why is your husband's goals different than your goals? Have you guys actually talked about this?
Mm-hmm.
Like, he wants to buy a house in France and you want to live in Clearwater Beach. How does this work?
Yeah.
Right? So that would be the first piece, is like, I will draw you in. I will force you to be at the table. And sometimes I have sacrificed clients because the wife ends up not liking me because I'm forcing her to be drawn into the conversation. But if the things that I wish got asked more, one, I wish there was a more intentional interaction around vision. I wish the wife would interject more on what she actually wanted. Again, my own bias on this, but I think about my wife. I have no issues with interjecting what she wants, so that's not a problem. But like, I think about Melissa. She had a very successful business.
Yeah. She supported you in the beginning.
Yeah, but she laid it all on the ground to raise our kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I hear this from her, not often, but often. I don't even get to think about myself. Like, I don't even get, I take care of the kids, I take care of the house, I do this. Is like, I don't even get to think about what I want. So like, I wish you would.
Mm-hmm.
I wish you would. I wish you would. And that's what I want for women to be in our meetings, going, interject, please. Participate into what you want. Like, what is important to you? Because at the end of the day, money needs to have alignment with your vision. Your financial decisions needs to have alignment with what you want. I cannot tell you how often I have a conversation where the balance sheet has completely zero alignment with where they want to go, because their advisors, their CPAs have given them advice that is so one-sided.
And ignored the heart.
Ignore the heart. So like, I know where your husband wants to go because it's quite easy. He wants to buy more real estate. He wants to grow the business. But like, why do we need to buy more real estate and buy more business? What do you want?
Mm-hmm.
So that's first and foremost. I wish they would interject more.
And I think there's alignment when you know what you're working towards and why. And it eliminates so many fights around money.
Two, the second thing I wish, and I would say I'm going to give you three, but the second thing I wish women would participate more in is the difficult decisions around money. It's so easy to say, oh, my husband handles taxes. No, participate. Because if your husband gets hit by a bus, you don't know where the bank accounts are, you don't know how to do your taxes, none of that stuff. But at the end of the day, you're still going to have to. So participate. Like, be okay with the difficult decisions around money. Learn what the risks are on the decisions your husband's making. Because if you're not comfortable with those risks, that is just as much your money, that's just as much your decision. You don't get to play a scapegoat. Oh, he decided to invest in this, and now we lost it all. So again, I may get some angry.
No, that's true though. Ask the questions, understand, make sure that there's some alignment.
And the third thing is stay involved. I get a lot of wives, and I would say in the first 3 meetings.
And then
But then they just don't participate anymore. And it has happened on multiple occasions where couples get divorced. And I had to build a relationship with the husband because the wife did not want to build a relationship because of one reason or another, right? And then we have to reintroduce everything. And then I go, well, why would he do that? Or why did he do this? Why did we invest here? And I want to say,
if you were in a meeting,
because you didn't participate.
Yeah.
You proxied your vote away by not participating.
Wow. And you know what's so funny is I watch with women who are, driving the boat. They always are like, well, I think my husband should be part of the calls. And usually there's more active participation that way. So it's interesting to see, because the guys, even if their wife is leading the conversation, still like want to know. And it's interesting. So
maybe this is sexist. I don't know. But I don't feel the same way in reverse. Like, if I'm meeting with a new client and it's just the wife that handles everything and the husband's not there, like I don't feel that compelled to bring the husband in.
Yeah. I mean,
It's just like, okay, dude, you gave up your vote a long time ago. Bye.
You'll catch up. It's kind of like Jason and I, right?
I mean, maybe.
Yeah, Okay.
Although I would pick him, and we know this.
You absolutely would not, and you know it. Last thing, because then we have to let all of these listeners get back to life. You have 3 daughters.
Yes.
You just had a son.
Yes.
But what is the one thing that you want to teach your daughters as they grow up with money? What is like the one lesson you want to make sure? Obviously, I'm assuming not to operate from scarcity, which they have not had that experience. So hopefully that will help. But how are you going to empower them? Do you do anything special with ways that they're talking about it now?
I think Coco's finally starting to understand that like we're a little bit wealthier than others. But I remind her that this is my money, not hers, right? And again, obviously there's a long road ahead between now and then. It is something that bugs me. It's something that keeps me up because the environment I grew up in gave me the greatest gift I have, which is the gift of figuring it out. They are not going to have to build that skill set. So it's something that I think about kind of regularly. But with the one thing, if I had to give them one thing, is to not be impressed by it. If they could grow up looking at money the same way I look at a hammer or a nail or any other, tool, and not be impressed by the job a hammer does, just know that it does a really good job when I need it, I think I would have been successful. Because I don't want them to, today, something that I struggle with is the identity. Like I'm working really hard to identify myself as a good human, not a successful person. And financial success has been my identity for a long time because that's what got me out of my previous identity. And I don't want them to identify in anything to do with money. I just want them to not be impressed by it. I want them to simply understand its power, understand it's good, understand it's bad, understand the tool that it can be, right? A hammer can be used for good and it can be used for bad. And if used correctly, it's very impactful. But if used incorrectly, it won't work. So that's my hope for them.
That is incredible. That's great advice. Well, for everybody listening, I can speak to your journey to be a good person. Genuinely, you show up the way that you hope to. And I am so blessed and honored to call you one of my closest friends and mentors. I think that you are 1 in a million as far as being the person that you hope to be, even when you drive me crazy. But I would encourage anybody listening, you guys follow along on what Claudio's doing and building. Where can people find you after this episode?
So we're actually going to be launching a podcast again. So to be determined there, or to be announced, I should say. But Claude Gambin on Instagram, Claudio Gambin Facebook, LinkedIn, all the main socials. I'm sure you guys can tag me and
we will
and do all sorts of stuff. We put quite a bit of content on life and business and hacks and all that stuff through our social channels. So
yeah, it's great. So for any of you listening, I hope you got a lot out of this, not only for the type of men that are out there that are so passionate about surrounding themselves with women, collecting so much more data and respecting that place that they can build at the table, but find your people. Find the people that are going to support what you're doing around money, and find as many good, true people like that you can. And if there's another topic or something that you want to hear on Talk Wealthy to Me, as always, let me know. Until next time.
And if you want Claudio to come back, leave comments.
Yes, for sure. It'll probably take a few months because he's so intentional with his time, but we will do our best to get you back. But if you enjoyed this episode, share it with a guy in your life that may need to hear how the female brain works from a guy who's done a really good job and a lot of time and energy trying to figure it out. And until next time, like, subscribe, share, and let's continue changing the way women think and feel about money together.